Thank you. We will now start our sixth and final session on skill development for aero and defense. For this session, I request the dignitaries to please come on the dais. I would first like to invite Commodore Shekhar to come to the dais and please moderate the session. I would also like to invite the dignitaries, Lieutenant General A.V. Subramaniam, retired President, Advanced Technology Center, LMW, Dr. P. Sriram, Head of Aerospace Engineering, IIT Madras, Dr. Ilavavargan, Director, Research, Hindustan University, HIET. Commodore Shekhar is a graduate of National Defense Academy, Karakwasla, and an alumnus of National Defense College, New Delhi. He is a postgraduate in Electrical, Electronic and Weapon System Engineering and holds an MPhil in Defense and Strategic Studies from the University of Madras. He is a submariner and after 30 years of distinguished service in the Indian Navy, transited successfully into the corporate sector. He is currently the Chairman and Managing Director of Tunga Services Private Limited. And let me share with you that wherever we go with Commodore, everybody knows him and respects him and tells that either he has taught them or he has led them. So it's really a pleasure to be with him and he's really knowledgeable. Over to you, Commodore.
Thank you, Meena. As I say, the sting should be in the tail. And I'm so glad that our last session is on skill development. Before I go any further, I will just introduce with a very few words my very distinguished panel. I've been requested by my distinguished members to be quick on that. General Subramaniam, if I had to actually present his biodata, we need one whole session. So I'm not going to do that. He is a graduate of the Vivekananda College. He from Military College of Electronic Mechanical Engineering, Secunderabad, and he has been the last job in the Armed Forces, Director General Weapons and Equipment, responsible capital acquisition in the Indian Army. He played a significant role in shaping the defense procurement procedure of 2013. He knows all about the defense procurement procedure. Then we have Dr. Ilavavargan. I had the pleasure of working with him. We set up, in fact, the first Center for Defense Technology Studies at Hindustan University, and he's continued there. Now he looks after international affairs. He's formerly an outstanding scientist, Director of Life Sciences and Defense Research and Development Organization, Ministry of Defense, Government of India. And last but not least, Professor Sriram, very appropriately, is the head of department, the Aerospace Engineering Department of the University of IIT Madras. Worked at Georgia Institute of Technology, Wichita State University, IIT Madras. Specialization in aerospace structures and specific fields of interest. Right. I just want to make some opening remarks before I hand you over to the very expert panel. I'm not a specialist. I'm specialist in other things. I'm a submariner. Right. Next slide. Where is this gadget is around that? Incidentally, I was just noting down during the earlier session, the word technology appears about 35 times during discussions today. 35 times, noted it down. Now, therefore, if you look at technology in the aerospace and defense domain, if you look at the components of military capability, hardware, software, humanware, the importance of the man-machine interface is very, very important. You can have technology is fine, but it's a very old saying that it's not the gun, but the man behind the gun which matters. Now, in terms of defense technology, there's a galloping obsolescence in the defense domain. I can speak for that because our technology which we have today, notwithstanding the current very modern equipment we have, we are suffering from a tremendous amount of obsolescence in the inventory which we hold, and we need to do something about that as well. Now, therefore, technology holds the key, whether it's current technology or obsolescent technology. And therefore, we need to create a professional cadre in the aerospace and defense technology domain. We don't have that as yet. We need a professional cadre. And this is where skill development will come in. One thing of very importance as far as the technology life cycle is concerned is the time and cost of developing the various modes of, and the profit proportional to the cost and risk involved. It's not like developing a car or a scooter or four-wheeler or something. We have the director CBRD sitting here. He would be able to tell us volumes of how much time it takes to design and develop technology. And when they design and develop, it's not for today. They develop it for the life cycle. Therefore, the costs involved are very, very great. Right. Now, apart from that, we have to look at the life cycle management. We have in the Navy today submarines which 25 years is a life cycle, but we in India operated for 30 years and more. So, life cycle management means not only the operation of them, but spares management, all these things have to be looked at. So, when you're looking at this, you're looking at a totally different beast than anything else except defense. Now, I just want to spend a few minutes on this. Aerospace and defense, the need continuum. First, you define the user need, which goes on to the design, goes on to the manufacture, then to the test and evaluation, the operate, maintain, repair, the upgrade and replace, and then back to the defined user need. And at the core of all this is skill development. So, when you talk of skill development, you're talking of skill. Skill development in the defense and aerospace domain is not like skill development in hair cutting or cake making or paper, nothing like that. Skill development here, in each of these, you need skill development. Now, why do we need this? There's a difference between knowledge and skill. Now, if you look at the technology, knowledge and complexity, the impact on capability is to be imagined. Today's aerospace and defense technology are tremendously complex. Utilizing high technology systems to the fullest extent requires knowledge, and translating that knowledge to a product which can be used by the man at the tank at the border or a sailor on a submarine underwater requires skill. And more importantly, I'm not going into the details of this, we have to shift that angle, that thing, further to the left, which means technology has to be accessed at a particular speed. We cannot use day after tomorrow's technology. We need to rather get ourselves geared to day after tomorrow's technology today. Otherwise, we are back to the obsolescence management system. Now, this is the multi-level knowledge technology transfer which needs to take place. It's quite complex, but quite simple to understand. Right. But having said all that, what am I going to ask the panel to talk about? The final objective of skill development is the user needs the end product. And the user, as I mentioned, is that guy on the tank, the man on the submarine, the fighter pilot in the air. He needs the product. The technology transfer may be required for design, manufacturing the product. Ability to assimilate and apply the technology needs to be created. The skill package, namely national occupational standards, quality packs, syllabi, faculty, facilities need to be created. Certification processes must be established. Industry, and this is the most important thing, industry must be ready to absorb the skills created. We can set up a facility, train people, certify them, create the skill, but if industry is not ready to absorb them, then there's no point. With that, I will request my most eminent panel to give their piece. General, would you go first? General Subramaniam first.
உலகத் தொழில் அனைத்தும் உவந்து செய்யும் தமிழ் மண்ணில் தொழிற்திறமை வளர்ச்சி பற்றி பேச அமைந்ததற்கு மிக்க நன்றி. Agenda, I would get straight onto the point. That is, manufacturing somehow in this country doesn't get that kind of a recognition which it needs to get. R&D is glamorous, design engineers are known, end product is known, but how does it come about in the manufacturing, we do not fully understand, fully relate to it. Very few institutions which are there in this country which actually recognize and contribute the contributions of the manufacturing. Manufacturing cannot take place without a manufacturing workforce, and how we actually go about building that workforce, and that context is in aerospace context. Okay, we know that this pyramid, and I had spoken about this in the last gym also, that from the PhD, Masters and Bachelors and Diploma, the bottom of the pyramid is the certificate course. That bottom of this is the one which has got the skilled workforce, which is very, very essential for us to work on. And unfortunately, in the Indian scene, in the skill structure, in aerosystem manufacture, the bottom is not there. Believe you me, there is no ITI, there is no technical institution which is actually preparing a technician for aerospace, which is a galling gap as to how we allowed such kind of a gap. We have BTechs in aerospace, we have masters in aerospace, we have ordered PhDs in aerospace, we are running design houses which are there running and kind of a design validation kind of workforces here, but we do not have certified technicians. And we have problems here, and Polytech is not there, and hence what we are attempting as of now is to start a 2-year curriculum at the ITA level at the National Trade Certificate recognized kind of a course. And that course, which initially start off with aircraft structure fitter, aircraft hydraulic system, aircraft electrical systems, and the aviation culture to be infused in the DNA. And that has got to be done by the industry. My last slide is actually going to talk about it. Like Commodore Shaker actually said, it is the employer, it is the industry which must take the center stage and then drive it. And they have got to demand the learning providers to actually equip the learners so that they can employ them. And for all these things to happen in aerospace, some standards have got to be established, and the standards have got to be validated. Some trainers have got to be prepared, they've got to be empowered, they've got to be funded. A whole thing is actually captured in this crisscross kind of a diagram around there. I do call upon institutions like AIDAT to kindly facilitate this, because if aerospace industry actually comes together as an employer, works with the government now, and we build this kind of an ecosystem, I am sure that we have got many things that will get answered, and the foundation of that pyramid will get laid, by which we will be able to take the aerospace industry ahead. We are making an attempt for this to succeed in Coimbatore, thanks to the LMW's involvement with some of our leading partners who are working along with us onto this, with the Tamil Nadu government also supporting us into this one. We solicit everybody's help in taking this ahead. I would miss the rest of the things, and then we says aviation technician, we must work with alacrity, and the structures to support and such training must be spearheaded by industry associations. Thank you.
Kannir vitto kappom karuga thiruvulamo. I thought I must respond to the general's opening. And for those who don't understand the Tamil, it says that the Lord has helped us to create this particular plant. The Lord must help us to maintain this plant and let it grow. And the plant we are talking about is skill development in aerospace and defense. So we need to create this skill in the aerospace and defense department. I just want to pick on one point which the general made, which is the lack at the bottom of the pyramid. Now, another great thinker, C.K. Prahalad, spoke about the wealth at the bottom of the pyramid, right? And here, he's very absolutely right. We have PhDs, we have MPhils, etc., at the top for aerospace, but there is nobody for doing, technician structures are not there. I want to share also, particularly in my specialization in submarines, the most important thing is welding. And we have the Welding Research Institute in Trichy. They're doing a very good job. But the point which the general made is, ITIs which are churning out lots of people for various skills, we don't have very, very skilled people in the welding department. More importantly, we are not able to retain them. We train them, we can't retain them, and they push off to the Gulf because they get better jobs over there. So this is something which we need to look at very, very seriously. Professor, would you go next?
Yeah, thank you, and good evening to all. I'd like to talk about skill development as from an academics perspective. Okay, I can only give an academics perspective because all my life I have never worked in a company. I've never left the safe environment of a university all my life. After I studied, got my PhD, and I've been working only in the universities ever since. But I think this gives us some idea of what to look for. Formally, we classify the skill levels. This is also there in the pyramid. There's something I would like to remind you all about in the pyramid. It's not just a higher level of skills that the pyramid represents, but it also represents the quantitative requirement. As you need one PhD engineer, you need 5 bachelor engineers, you need 20 technicians, diploma and ITI holders. Otherwise, the system will not work. It's not stable. You have, as they say in America, you have too many chiefs and not enough Indians. You have to have, it is not just the level, but the numbers also have to be like that. I will share with you some data, like they say in US, in God we trust, everybody else bring data. I have some data on our enrollments in the different programs that will give us an idea of maybe where the gaps is, and let us think about how we need to fix this capacity gap as has been clearly brought out to us. There are types of skills. We need to think about how do we build the capacity, what kind of quality, quantity, what fields do we need in. Our general already pointed out there are critical skills for which there is no training existing. The existing diploma level training, as we see, is there only for, essentially if you look at the enrollments, it's there only in mechanical, electrical, 2 flavors, electrical and electronics or electronics communication, computer science. This covers almost entirely the total availability of diploma level training in the country. There is almost nothing else available at that lower level training. So we need to come up with some regulatory structure, government, industry, we all have to work together and come up with some new programs where there is a market, and we need to produce the people with the right skills who will work in that market. So this is some numbers I have taken out, don't worry about the numbers if you can't see them. This is the enrollment trend overall, the national trend in engineering enrollment over the last few years as put out by our, the actual numbers may vary. Don't worry about the colors of the bars. It's from the last 6 years, this is what is happening to engineering enrollment. Just consider the 2 bars, only a couple of points I want to make from here. The bigger bar is male, and then there is subsequent community sections in there. This is the way AICTE puts out the data, so I'm just using it as it is. You can clearly see there is in the last 5-6 years, there is a clear downward trend. As a corollary, if you want to see, you can compare the height of the 2 bars that are in pairs. The smaller bar is female and the bigger bar is male. So overall in engineering, we have roughly 1/4 enrollment is female, which is okay, not very good. We can look at some more detail. Specifically, since we are looking at Tamil Nadu, the trends are the same. You can see overall last 5 years, the same kind of the enrollment is declining in the last 5 years. I'll add more to this in a second. Something little bit more encouraging. The smaller bar is now a bigger fraction of the bigger bar. Tamil Nadu is that way. We are doing better. About 30%, close to 30% enrollment. It's almost 1:3. Somewhere more than 25% female enrollment is there. That's an encouraging sign. We have good diversity. I look further, split it into diploma level and degree level. If you look at what is happening at the degree level, the downward trend is very clearly visible, and the female enrollment is actually really very encouraging. We have 1/3 female enrollment. That's a very good sign. But there is, it's not very clear whether it is 1/3 of local girls, if I may be allowed to use that term, enrolling here, or people from all over the country deciding that Tamil Nadu is a safe place. This is where I will send my girls to college here, because this is the good place. They treat women with more care and respect. I don't know which is it. Some more work can be done on this. There is data available on where all the students are coming from. That's a different project. We can see what is happening with that. To me, of more interest is this graph. This is the diploma level situation. This does not show the kind of decline that the overall enrollment is showing. This is, in fact, it's not declining at all. It is stable. The difference actually, if you work out the numbers and you see what is happening, it is, plus 3,000, 4,000 1 year, minus 5,000 another year. It's just going up and down, which tells you that this is stable. This is not in a state of decline. This is in a good state. But to me, of some concern is the female enrollment at the diploma level is extremely poor. There is a market I think we should tap. Should be possible to get something from there so that we can produce more trained manpower. But this is the real shocker. This is the same data I had on the last graph, but I have added the blue bar, which tells us what is the actual capacity that is available in all the institutions. If you look at it, there is a very small decline in capacity, but the big shocker is if you add the two bars together, that is the actual enrollment, it hardly adds up to 50% of the capacity. If somebody tells you we do not have the capacity to train more people, they are selling you a story. That is simply not true. The current enrollment in terms of capacity is barely 50%. This is the statistic for Tamil Nadu, same graph as I showed in the last one. You can look at more detail. You can look at state-wise also. You can look at this kind of information. The big bar way over on the right is Tamil Nadu, which is the leading one in terms of the available capacity. You can see that the bars are all in pairs. The bigger bar on the left-hand side of each pair shows the capacity, and the right-hand bar shows the actual enrollment. You can see across the country, nowhere are we anywhere near utilizing the full capacity that is available. The need is not opening more institutions. That is obviously definitely not the need. The already existing capacity is approximately double of the actual enrollment. What we should be looking at is, why is the enrollment only half of the available capacity? Is it because people are not able to afford them? Is it because the product that is coming out is not employable? The industry doesn't want them. They are not having the right kind of skills. That is where we need to think. Simply in terms of raw capacity, we have definitely what is needed. I believe this is for the graduate level, degree level. There are some trends visible here. For example, Tamil Nadu is big, and the degree level enrollment capacity in Tamil Nadu is around 60% or so. Much better in, say, Maharashtra, where a larger fraction of capacity is being filled. Same kind of data we can get readily for Polytechnic, that is the next lower level, the bottom of the pyramid level, where the gap is now more visible in some states. For example, if you look at Maharashtra, which has good enrollment versus capacity at the degree level, actually is doing very poorly in enrollment versus capacity at the diploma level. The enrollment is barely 30-35% of the total capacity that is available. It's not too bad in Tamil Nadu. It is getting there. It's almost getting there. If you look at this data, some summary results can be pulled out. The enrollment across the country, whether it is at degree level or at diploma level, is somewhere of the order of 50%, maybe 55, 56, of the order of 50% only. People in the government policy and all talk about increasing the gross enrollment ratio. We are at 25%, meaning only around 25% of college, that is post-high school tertiary education, only around 25% of the population, which is of that age, is actually enrolling. And we want to model ourselves as, say America, USA. USA has a gross enrollment ratio around 85%. That means 85% of people who are college going age are enrolled either in a vocational school, polytechnic or college, whereas it's only around 25, 28 in India. In China, it's around 35 to 40. We need to increase it. But there is something people forget when we look at this. The graduation rate in US is actually very poor. Though 85% are enrolling in colleges and schools, only half of them actually complete. The gross graduation rate is only around 40%. Or why worry, look at fractions, look at absolute numbers. US is a much smaller country, population is much less. They are actually producing only around 4 lakh graduates from colleges. India is already producing 4 million. India is already producing 8 million. So our gross numbers are very much there. If we want, we have the numbers. We have to put them to have the right skills and put them to good use. China is of course having 12 million, can't quite compete with that yet. But the numbers are there. There is sufficient capacity, but we need to give them the right skills so that all the seats, the remaining 50% are also filled and are able to go to the industry and be productive. This is the second one is not directly, it's more a social thing than that. The male-female ratio is not very good, which means there is a large segment out there. There are lots of girls who are not coming to college, who are not enrolling here. The numbers will be similar. It should be 50-50 in the population. So they are not enrolling in college, not enrolling in diploma. There is a pool there. We do have the capacity. The institutions have the seats. How do we bring them in there? We need to work at some methods so that we bring them in there. The last two have to deal with why there is a gap. We need to, I have not done this. I've just, as they say, I've just graced the tip of the grass to bring you some data, give us something to think about. Why is there this gap between the capacity and actual enrollment? Is it because they are not getting the right kind of training, so they don't want to come? Do we need to think in terms of different kinds, work with the industry? Academic institutions should work with the industry and see how to fill that gap, available capacity, make better use, and turn out people who can then be skill developed and be of use to the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Very, very insightful inputs. I think the Dassault team who wants to help Tamil Nadu in its skill development have got lots to take from what the professor said. So also Ankit Tyagi, if he is here. Ankit, I think in your report you can look at the capacity available, but we are not maximizing that capacity. I think this we need to bring out in the report on the Tamil Nadu Defence Corridor. Thank you very much, Professor. It needs an academic approach to tell us these things. Thank you very much, sir. Professor, Dr. Ilavalagan.
Commander Shekhar, the moderator, and the co-panelists, and all the participants. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this one-day seminar and for having given me an opportunity to be a part of this panel. I come from an institution which was founded by Dr. KCG Varghese, who was a visionary and who thought the aerospace and defense industry in India, there is a great requirement of the skilled people. Even though there are 3,500 engineering colleges and we are churning out almost 1.5 million engineers, still not working to the full capacity. There are enough number of people, but we don't have skilled people. Similarly, in the polytechnic or at ITA level also, we have large number of people coming out, but they don't have the skilled manpower. As General pointed out, there are no skilled people available at the bottom of the pyramid. And what is to be done? And this education we are providing, and it is a process of systematic learning to improve knowledge. And it develops a sense of judgment and reasoning. And this is provided by the academic institutions, and they are churning out a large number of people with this knowledge. But only thing is they don't have the skill, and any type of institution, they are providing education, but not the skills which are required. But the skills are actually required, which is the ability to use the information and knowledge that they get to apply in a particular context. And this will improve. If they have the skills, it will improve the performance and the productivity. And this can be obtained only by training. And training imparts this skill, not only the technical skill, but also interpersonal relationship, and also the global skills which are required to appreciate the importance of safety, quality, and so on. Now, even though both of them are important in the present day context, and this knowledge and the skill are important for the national development, economic development, and also the social well-being. Now, coming to the same pyramid, the training skills are required at various levels, right from the diploma level, certificate level, diploma level, and graduate level. These skills are required, and they are required in different domains. In design and development, whether it is aerospace or defense, manufacturing and assembly, maintenance, overhaul, and repair, or whether it is airline operations or airport operations, whatever it is, skills are required, different types of skills are required in each of these domains. And the Skill Development Corporation Council has come out with 70 types of job requirements, and the details have been worked out. And how to implement this, that's the point which we have to think. And one of the data this is a data which says that in different countries, what is the level of the skilled people. In India, hardly 2% of the people are skilled, whereas in Korea, the maximum 96% of people are skilled. How the Koreans are able to do this? Because they have a systematic, and the government funds the people to study in these organizations, and they are developing a competence-based society. Instead of knowledge-based, they are developing a competence-based society. It's not the number that matters, but everyone is trained and certified to work in that particular domain. And also there is an institution which organizes competitions among them, trains them, and organizes competitions and selects the best of the people who have got the competency, and they are rewarded. And now this is the cause of concern. Even though we have the demographic advantage and the government policies which are promoting the industries, which will create employment, but we don't have the skilled manpower. That's the great concern. And how do we address this? Various countries have got different models. UK, for example, the military-led programs are there, which is supported by the government. In case of France, the industry leads this training program, and at higher levels, they are tied up with the academic institutions. And now what do we do in India? The strategy should be that the government, the academic institutions, and industry should come together and create the opportunity for training the people, skilled people, at whatever level they are. It should be done, and this will help in creating a core of skilled people at all levels. And initially, in short term, we can have alliances with the people from other countries, other organizations, and we can create training institutions initially, but later the academic institutions or the technical institutions, whether it is be it an ITI or polytechnic or engineering college, they should have the capability. The faculty should be trained, facilities should be, advanced facilities should be provided there, and the people then will be trained, will be able to get the trained manpower. Now the problem is, even though we are churning out 1.5 million of engineers, hardly 20 or 30% of them are employable. That's the surveys say. So this has to be reversed. That can be done only we empower the faculty and provide the facilities, establish facilities with the latest technologies and equipments so that they are trained well. And the courses are to be designed as per the requirement of the industry. Instead of providing the general courses, the courses are to be as per the requirement of the industry. In case of Korea, recently I had an opportunity to visit. The Samsung, for example, runs a course in one of the universities for development of the display systems. Another industry is running a course on the storage of power, that is batteries. So this sort of specialized courses which are required by the industry is sponsored by them and run by the academic institutions. This sort of things should come in India, and if we get that, we should be able to produce a large number of the skilled workforce to take care of the future developments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. Due to shortage of time, I'm going to completely do away with my prepared text on closing remarks. Only one comment I want to make on what Dr. Ilavaragan said, which is the need to empower the faculty. Because unless the faculty is improved, knowledge transfer, training, etc. is not going to come. But one important thing which many of us are missing is the end objective of this, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, is the man in the tank and the man on the submarine. Therefore, when you talk of industry having interaction with academic institutions for preparing the syllabus, I think industry in turn must have interaction with the end user to decide what is it the end user wants. This is a very, very important aspect, and as we go along, we must develop this. With that, thank you very much, my co-panelists. And Professor, both of our professors, in fact, I feel humble that in front of these educated men, mere naval officer had to chair the panel. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, gentlemen.
Please wait on for the vote of thanks.